Unwritten Tide. Chapter 1. The Echo of the City. The rain wasn't falling. It was a vertical river, drumming against the tinted glass of the penthouse. Elias Thorne watched it, a half-eaten gourmet meal cooling on the marble counter behind him. The city below, New York, London, he couldn't even remember which one it was this week, was a blur of frantic yellow cabs and glowing office towers. His phone buzzed. Meeting in 5. Board is waiting. It was Sarah, his assistant, her voice a surgical strike of efficiency. Elias closed his eyes. The scent of burnt coffee and ambition, the constant hum of demands. He had everything: the private jet, the stock portfolio that made headlines, the power suit that felt like a second skin. Yet, every morning, he woke up with a hollow echo in his chest. A memory flickered, a surfboard, a wave, the taste of salt on his lips. It felt like a dream from another life. True wealth isn't what you acquire, Elias. It's what you refuse to lose. His old surf instructor, Kai, used to say. He looked at his reflection in the dark glass. A stranger, sharp-suited, eyes tired. A faint scar above his eyebrow from a childhood wipeout, the only remaining trace of the boy he once was. "I'm done," he whispered, the words sounding foreign even to himself. He grabbed his old, worn leather wallet. Inside, a faded photo, a young Elias, board under arm, a perfect wave breaking behind him. Chapter 2. The Whispering Palms. The transition was jarring. One day, the roar of the city; the next, the gentle rustle of palm fronds. Elias stepped off a small propeller plane onto a tiny airstrip. The air hit him warm, moist, smelling of frangipani and damp earth. A single jeep, old and dusty, awaited. He hadn't booked a luxury resort. He was going to Makana Point, a mythical surf break he'd heard about in his youth. A place so remote, it was said only those truly lost could find it. The jeep bumped along a dirt track, flanked by dense jungle. Sunlight dappled through the canopy, creating dancing patterns on the ground. A bright blue bird darted across their path. This was a world away from the sterile concrete he'd inhabited. The sounds were different too. The distant break of waves, the chirping of unseen insects, the rhythmic hum of the jeep's engine. He rented a small, rustic bungalow with a thatched roof directly on the beach. No Wi-Fi, no phone signal, just the raw symphony of the ocean. He unpacked his old board, a relic, but familiar. This is it, he thought, the place where the tide unwrites the past. Chapter 3. The First Wave. The first few days were awkward. His body, accustomed to boardroom chairs, rebelled against the sand and the salt. His mind, trained for complex spreadsheets, struggled to simply be. He felt the urge to check his emails, to call Sarah, to strategize. He would sit on the beach, watching the local surfers, their movements fluid, effortless. They were extensions of the ocean, not fighting it, but dancing with it. He watched Kai, his old mentor, now an elder, his skin tanned like leather, his eyes still holding the wisdom of the sea. One morning, as the sun painted the sky in hues of soft orange and pink, Elias pushed his board into the water. The first waves were humbling. He fell, swallowed by the ocean, tasting defeat, but also something else. Freedom. He surfaced, spitting out salt water, a grin spreading across his face. The effort was immense, his muscles screaming, but for the first time in years, he felt utterly alive. The only numbers that mattered were the sets of waves, the duration of his breath, the rhythm of his paddle. Chapter 4. The Unwritten Rules. Weeks turned into months. Elias spent his days in the ocean, his evenings by a crackling fire, sharing simple meals with the local community. He learned to fish, to build, to laugh at his own clumsy attempts. He hadn't completely forgotten his old life. Occasionally, a stray thought of a deal, a market fluctuation, would surface. But they were like distant whispers, easily drowned out by the roar of the waves. One afternoon, Kai sat beside him, carving a piece of driftwood. You surf not to conquer the wave, Elias, but to understand it. The ocean has no rules, only rhythms, just like life. Elias finally understood. He hadn't just escaped a life. He had unlearned a set of rules that weren't his own. He was writing a new script, guided by the unwritten tide. He helped the village build a new communal hut, using skills he never knew he possessed. He felt a connection, a purpose beyond profit. Chapter 5. The Rising Sun. One morning, Elias woke before dawn. He walked to the water's edge. The stars were still bright, reflecting on the glassy surface of the ocean. The air was cool, carrying the promise of a new day. He paddled out, past the breaking waves, until he was sitting on his board, waiting. The first sliver of sun painted the horizon in gold. He felt the familiar surge, a mountain of water rising beneath him. He took a deep breath, paddled hard, and stood up. This wave was different. It wasn't about the thrill or the escape. It was about belonging. He rode it effortlessly, gracefully, all the way to the shore. The sand welcomed him, soft and familiar. He had returned to the essential, to the simple joys. The echo of the city was gone, replaced by the steady beat of his own heart, synchronized with the ocean. He was no longer Elias Thorne, the CEO. He was just Elias, a man of the sea. He looked back at the rising sun, then at the small village waking up behind him. This was home. This was his unwritten tide.